Now, when you're in an actual coding interview, you need to always keep in mind that there's another person or sometimes other people in the room. Oftentimes, when a candidate is given a problem, he or she becomes completely silent and the interviewer has no idea what you're thinking. So it's crucial that you communicate your thoughts well with your interviewer. So back to this example. You're supposed to write a function that takes an array of integers and find three integers that together multiply to 20. Again, when you're given this problem, a typical candidate might start thinking completely silently, but instead of doing that, just let the interviewer know what you're thinking from time to time. You might say, for example, well, if the problem was to find two integers instead of three integers that would multiply to 20, it would be much easier. Or you might say something like, well, I think the solution depends on whether or not there are duplicates in the array. Telling the interviewer what you're thinking this way sometimes naturally leads to a question. For example, are there any duplicates in this array? The overall strategy in any coding interview should be to make sure that the interviewer understands what you're thinking, and also to make sure that you have all the right assumptions by asking the right questions. So again, keep in mind that the coding interview is not a solo problem-solving exercise. You're supposed to communicate with the interviewer often and ask for help if necessary. So in any coding interview you might have in the future, keep in mind the three tips we discussed. First, think on paper or think in concept first instead of in code. And think about the big picture first before going into too much detail. And communicate well with the interviewer and ask good questions. In the section right after this, we're going to cover the 11 essential coding interview questions. I specifically curated this list because these are the most commonly asked type of questions. So it's essential that you master these topics that I'm going to cover: arrays, strings, 2D arrays, linked lists, and trees. Now let's get started.